Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to share not just one book, but 3 books by one photographer. This is sort of a trilogy by Christopher Anderson. We have Pia, Sun, and Marion, all 3 published by Stanley Barker, and I'm going to share just a closer look at these books and why I love them so much. Pia is a book that we've talked about before, but Sun and Marion, the other 2 books in this collection here, they all go together really, really well, and I would encourage people, if you enjoy one of these books, seek out the other 2 books and round out the trilogy because as a set, these are just great. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you need a website, go to squarespace.com/mattday. Save yourself a little bit of money. I'll tell you more about them in just a little bit and how I use their service, but for now, let's take a look at these books by Christopher Anderson. I'll share the books in order of their release, and with that in mind, it is worth mentioning that Sun was actually originally published in 2013 by Carer, although in 2021, Pia was published by Stanley Barker. 2022, they then followed up with a reimagined and expanded edition of Sun, and rounding out the year at the end of 2022, just last year, they released Marion. All 3 of these books focus on Anderson's family, and given the different titles and different books, each person in the family sort of has their own focus over their given book. However, the entire family is present and throughout all 3 books. When talking about Pia, Anderson states, the images portray a father-daughter relationship as well as a photographer-subject collaboration as Pia takes control of her character. The passage of time comes with a certain melancholy, but also a declaration of hope that guides the photographs. So while Pia was the first book published in this specific trilogy, like I mentioned earlier, all of the work for Sun was actually shot years prior and released in a former book. However, they returned and sort of reimagined this edition for this trilogy. Following the birth of his son Atlas, Christopher Anderson stepped away from war photography, turning his camera towards an intimate reflection of family life, resulting in his 2013 book Sun. Stanley Barker is proud to publish a beautifully reimagined edition which adds a second chapter of 80 new pages to the story, following Christopher and Atlas's relationship up to the present day. This book will include both Anderson's original images from Sun in 2013, plus 40 never-before-seen photographs. When talking about the work that would make up Sun, Anderson states, these photographs are an organic response to an experience that is at the same time the most unique and the most universal of experiences, the birth of a child. At the same time that I was experiencing the intense joy of new life, my father was diagnosed with lung cancer. It's fair to say that I found myself reflecting on obvious themes of life and death. Through my son, my role as the son took on new meaning, and my senses were hyper-tuned to the evidence of my own life passing. Then these photographs just sort of happened. They are a record of love and a reflection on the seasonal nature of life. So not just a re-release, this is actually a new book that's been reimagined with new work, basically bringing the project up to date. Everything that's been made since the book was originally published, now that's actually part of the story here, and it also just matches the format and everything of the trilogy, so it's great. Anderson has seen and photographed so many things throughout his career, but his personal photographs were never seen as work in his mind until photographer Tim Hetherington saw a photograph of Anderson's wife, and he said, "This is about the passing of time." Anderson began to see his personal images in a new light, and over time, he'd come back to feel that these photographs were, in fact, his life's work. Anderson's new book, Marion, marks the closing chapter of a trilogy of books that chronicles their lives and loves in beautiful depth over the course of their partnership. When talking about the book Marion and this work, Anderson states, it was never some sort of creative exercise. The photographs are expressions of love, a record of that expression. They are more than memories. Considering I'm a photographer that spends a lot of time making photos of just my own life, my own family, these books definitely, they struck a chord with me. But I think for, more people, a broader audience, it's tough to always recommend photo books because there are books that I know I love and I'm never going to get tired of, but they're going to be hard to recommend to other people because we all have different tastes and opinions, and that's what makes it great. These books to me are so easy to recommend to people because there are portraits in the book, there are landscapes in the book, there are so many different things filling up the book, but everything has this really nice and consistent feel and tone. They're intimate pictures, but they sort of have this almost POV style where you're in really, really close distance to the subjects. You feel like you're actually just looking through Anderson's eyes in a lot of ways, and it's not so much the candid snapshot documentary style. Sometimes things feel very slow and very quiet, and that's what I really like about it. That's what I always take from it. It's that everything in the just day-to-day life, it all feels a little bit slower. Even when there's, chaos and ups and downs of everyday life, The way that he photographs things in this work, it all just feels very quiet, very close to the heart. It's just beautiful, beautiful work. Visually, it's just always a joy to look at his work. His use of color, for me, as someone who primarily focuses on black and white, it gives me that color itch. It makes me want to shoot color. And most of the time I just admire, color photography, and I admire photographers that do it well. But there's something that's like appetizing about the color and the way that Anderson uses color, the repetition of certain colors to kind of build this like consistent tone and feel. He just makes it look so rich and palpable and attainable in a way. It all just feels like it's just right there. And that also has to do with just the way these books are printed. Everything is printed just beautifully. The way the books feel, like as an object, I love the feel of these books. The soft cover that's linen wrapped, the design, the actual printing of the pictures themselves. They're just, all in all, just top to bottom, great books. I love finding little details in some of these photos that will call back to other photos in the same book or even other books within the trilogy. Everything kind of sprawls out and everything feels really cohesive, like it's all part of one bigger story, that being the family. I knew about Christopher Anderson's work and his career before these books, but I didn't know much about him personally or his family life, and without that information, you can still read and appreciate these books. There really isn't context necessary because, these moments of life, and especially having a family of your own, it's so universal. There really isn't much there to say, and he does so with the photographs, everything in a very consistent style that just, it really hits it home. Each book does end with a letter from Anderson to each person in the family in each respective book, and each one has made me cry, there's no denying that, but they're great ways to end the book. It sort of makes the whole book itself feel like a letter to each person in the family. It's not so much to the viewer, it's really about showing each person in the family what he sees and what he feels, and that to me is ultimately like the power of photography. If you're interested in picking up any of these books for yourself, I will have links down below to this entire trilogy, as well as a link to the first edition copy of Sun. I did find a copy online that is available if you're interested, and also just won the lottery. Thank you all for joining me on this video, and a huge shout out to Squarespace for sponsoring this video and helping me keep this whole thing going. You guys already know I've been using Squarespace's service for years, way before they ever sponsored my channel, because they truly are the best all-in-one place to build a website. No matter what your needs are or what kind of business you run, Squarespace has something for everybody with all of the features you could possibly need built right in. For photography, it's pretty much a no-brainer. It's a great way to actually get your portfolio or a gallery or series of images together rather than being just thrown together in the middle of some algorithm. On top of that, you could manage all of your email campaigns, you could run an online store selling physical or digital products. They're constantly adding new features and tools to Squarespace, and everything is incredibly easy to use. Of course, if you need help with anything, they have 24/7 award-winning customer service, so they're always ready to help. Try Squarespace out for yourself entirely free at squarespace.com, but when you're ready to sign up, go to squarespace.com/mattday. That'll get you 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. That's it for this video. If you guys have any questions or comments about the Anderson trilogy of your own, if you have any other books that you'd like to recommend or see here on the channel, let me know in the comments down below, but that's it for today. Love you guys. I'll see you soon.